this is the early signing day. There's still the February signing day, although now the December signing day has become kind of the big signing day because you're trying to get as many of these guys as you can to come at the semester break so they can go through workouts and spring ball and all that stuff. So Carolina signs 39 players. Not that this was a surprise. Michael Lombardi said that Carolina was going to have a large class, that their goal was to almost bring in, as he said, almost 2 classes worth of players in this one class. It is 9 DBs, 7 offensive and defensive linemen, 5 linebackers, 5 wide receivers, a couple tight ends, a quarterback, and a punter. That is who Carolina signed on Wednesday itself. Now, this does not mean that Carolina is done signing guys. As I said, there's another signing day in February. There's a window of time here. I think it's maybe closes today where it's still within the signing period in December that guys can still sign. Although I don't know if Carolina is anticipating to have more guys or not in this window. You, of course, have the transfer portal coming up starting January 2nd. That is from the 2nd through the 16th. That's the only transfer portal for football, so just be ready for an avalanche of out and in during those 2 weeks. But, Adam, I think from the Carolina perspective, some of this I feel like they've told us, and some of this is my interpretation of what we've been told. It feels like Carolina didn't feel like it achieved what it wanted to achieve as far as signing guys last year when Bill Belichick arrived. It was after the initial signing day in December. I mean, Carolina didn't have a coach when the initial signing day occurred. I think some of the inexperience in the college realm slowed the progress of what Carolina was doing. And so, to me, no one has straight up said this, but I think that's why Carolina is signing so many guys this year, because they're looking at it as, okay, this is the start of year 2, but they didn't feel like they really had a full class, whether or not you agree with that or not, last year. And so they're trying to kind of make up for it with this class by having all these players. And so it's a lot of players in. The talent level, at least if you, for whatever recruiting rankings are worth, and I do think they're worth something, it's not a Bible of this definitely happens when this player is supposed to be good, but it gives you a pretty good idea. The talent level is up, but these will be young guys. And especially at spots like the offensive and defensive line, it's hard for young guys to come in and make immediate impacts. Not impossible, but hard. It will be a benefit for them to go through spring. And with this much coming in and the transfer portal still there, where you would assume Carolina would be active to some degree, there's going to have to be some guys going out. Because right now the Tar Heels are well over the 105 players that you can have. And so all of that is to say, big class, talent infusion, but we are nowhere close to seeing the end of the roster maneuvering in and out for the Tar Heels for next season.
Yeah, we know nothing about who's going to take the field against TCU in Ireland. There's just no telling. I mean, you've signed 39. That suggests that about half the roster is going to turn over once you add in some other additions that you hope to make. The Tar Heels have a lot of holes. As you just said, I think it's tough to bring in true freshmen who are going to play on the lines, and we know Michael Lombardi sat in here and said Carolina wanted to build from the inside out. So sounds like there's going to be some portal additions in that area. Because those are areas where the Tar Heels need to get better. It's going to be interesting to see. Highly rated class in the top 20 nationally by almost everyone, but there are also 39 players.
Yeah, some of that's just the amount of guys, but there is again, talent level is up.
I do think if you look at who Carolina beat for the guys they signed last year versus who they beat for some of the guys this year, there are some encouraging signs that there's teams you heard of this year and last year. Sometimes some of those guys were going to go not to a similar school as Carolina if they didn't go to Carolina. So some big late switches, which I think speaks to the fact that they have improved their recruiting approach. And now you've got to move on to the next thing, which is the portal opening in less than a month.
How active, I don't know how active Carolina will be in the portal. I do think there will be some activity as far as guys coming in, but they don't want to do what they did last year, I don't think. I think that's part of the reason they signed this big class. They don't want to have to get, and I'm making up a number, 30 guys out of the portal. I think it's been proven that it's hard to win that way consistently. If you can build your base, which I think the Tar Heels are trying to do, and then fill in some spots through the portal, that feels like the right way to do it. Now, the Tar Heels have a lot of spots to fill. So which of those spots do they value the most as far as that this just has to, we have to get somebody here? And Michael Lombardi actually talked about this a little bit in that press conference on Wednesday about we have to get somebody here, we want to get somebody here, and it would be okay. We could get somebody here and it wouldn't hurt us, but we've got some guys here. How they tier that you and Bryn and I talked on the podcast on Monday. Quarterback and offensive line are two positions that certainly the Heels, in our opinion, would be looking at. Don't forget all four starters in the defensive backfield. Both safeties and both corners are gone because their eligibility is up. So you're going to have, that's a lot of new faces there. And we just said they signed, 9 defensive backs. So now some of that's like Jaden Patterson is, he played a lot and started some, and Caleb Koss, not counting the nickel spot in this discussion. But anyway, there are plenty of spots that Carolina needs to fill. So how do they tier those of, look, we don't want to get 100 dudes out of the portal here. We definitely need to try and find somebody who's ready right now at spot A, B, and C, and then we're willing to say we're going to get these young guys or returning guys more ready to go at these spots. And I think that's what that large personnel department for Carolina is trying to decide right now.
And as we've said before, no one wakes up on the morning that the portal opens and decides, you know what, I think I might go in the portal.
Yeah, no.
Those conversations are happening now. Maybe not directly, but certainly indirectly. And so Carolina is going to spend this next month trying to build a pretty good idea of who is going to be available when that window officially opens. And those are going to be some very important spots because remember the Tar Heels were 4-8. So there's a lot of holes to fill against a much better schedule.